Greetings once again, all you heroes and villains out there. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with My Hero Academia. Now, previously, we saw the full wrap-up of Himiko Toga's rampage, as her blood she received from Twice had completely dissipated from her system, meaning that the Twice clones dissipated as well, thankfully before they completely wash over Endeavor and his family as well as Ida. However, Hawks, for everything that he had done, was slashed a few times by Toga, which will definitely leave some scars, which even Hawks was willing to just accept. Not that he could really fight back, given that he had his Quirk stolen. But because of her stab rune, Uraraka was bleeding out. And so despite everything, Toga decided that she would give Ochako her blood by turning into her, even if it meant potentially giving up her own life, knowing that one way or another, her freedom was gone. She is either to die here, saving Ochako, or be arrested. So she'll at least do this for the one person who was willing to hear her out, even if it was just to stall for time. But if nothing else, Toga is happy that Ochako showed her the love and care that she had never known. And with that, another member of the villainous team falls. Spinner, Dabi, Toga, all taken care of, but the ones who remain, Kurogiri, maybe, All for One, and Tomura Shigaraki. Who will we cut to next? Join me as I find out, won't you? Yep, looks like it's All for One, as we see All Might standing in the rain, ready to confront his archenemy. He thinks to himself, it's funny how this almost makes sense, Night-Eye. And he remembers Night-Eye's last words to him when they last met. When All Might would go back into battle despite his injuries, Night-Eye called out, continue down this path and you will encounter a villain. What awaits you then is an unspeakably gruesome death. All Might thinks as he sees All for One flying towards him. A villain, you said. Who'd ever believe this young man was All for One? Yeah, 'cause he's reverted in age because of Erie's quirk. All Might readies his battle suitcase, thinking if your foresight quirk's prediction still holds true, then this is it. That much is clear. 20 minutes before the Toga Twice army faded away, and as All for One sneers at All Might with anger, All Might calls out, I am here! And the suitcase starts to form around him in the most Iron Man way possible. All Might thinks of Nana Shimura's smile as he gazes at All for One's sneer, and he thinks, gotta show my mug, right? Oh, armored All Might. All Might smiles beneath the suit of armor. This is My Hero Academia, number 396, Battle Without a Quirk. All Might calls to his car? Roll camera, Hercules. Hercules says, already recording. All Might says, I'll keep you updated on my battle. Sukauchi. Ooh, did he get it from David's shield? That would be awesome if he got it from David. Or even David's daughter. What was it, Melissa? Sukauchi and the police officers look at the feed. One of the officers says, a whole powered suit. And his car's the support item? Labrava hears this and says, did someone say All Might versus All for One? Live stream! She immediately presses a button on the keypad. The officers call out, why you little... Not everything has to go on the internet. And what, streaming is your bankai? Really? Sukauchi thinks of when All Might left previously. He questions, wait, where are you off to? All Might said to provide support for all. And Sukauchi said, given the state you're in, how? Sukauchi in the present thinks, so you've chosen how you'll greet death? Sukauchi then says, all the tools and gadgets in the world won't matter. A quirkless man could never hope to take on All for One. Stop the stream, Aiba. All we'll be broadcasting is the brutal death of a former hero, stealing a few minutes of All for One's time to make sure his pupil's fight goes uninterrupted. Meanwhile, floating in the air, All for One sees All Might, rage filling his eyes, and he thinks, All Might, the number one roadblock in my life. A toy worth mangling more than any other. Delay my advance? A transparent ploy. You know exactly how this will play out. Ah, there it is. See, All for One thinks rationally, but when he sees All Might smile, you can see All for One's rage boiling over as he says, "What are you smiling about?" Oof, the blood vessels on his head literally start to burst, and he goes in for the attack. And All Might in response says, "Hercules, red!" All Might's support item gathers around him in what looks like a protective shell as All for One fires off a beam that sweeps across the city, almost cutting through All Might's protection, causing a massive explosion. But All Might, he sheds through the protective shield, launching himself at All for One. The police officers back at the base say, "He took that and lived?" Hercules' AI then communicates with All Might saying, "Hercules' shield depleted by 66%. There will be no second time." All Might simply says, "Works for me." All for One, who's now missing his arm because of that attack he fired off, thinks a mad charge, no dodging, his classic style. All for One then goes rocketing in, his arm trying to repair itself, as he says, "That only ever worked because you held one for all." Oh, suddenly several cables from All Might's support items as well as his gauntlets all stab into All for One, locking him down. All Might says, "Black Whip. Charge Bolt." An electric current runs through the various cables stabbing into All for One, causing it to disrupt his regeneration. All for One thinks, "The electric current meddles with my regen." All for One then uses the cables on his gauntlets to draw... All Might uses the cables on his gauntlets to draw All for One in, thinking to himself, "Wind him in cellophane." All for One All Might calls out, "Ever since your final battle against my master, you've made a habit of kicking fights off with haphazard ranged attacks." Wait, now that I think about it, he said Black Whip, Charge Bolt, Deku's Black Whip, and then Denki's Charge Bolt. Then wind him in like cellophane, which is Sarah. He then thinks build up Sugar Man. He's even using Sato. As one of his support items clamps down around his foot, giving him a massive boot. As All Might says, "You love wearing folks down before stealing their quirks, but that approach is meant for fighting those with quirks." As he's about to go in for a massive kick on All for One. Meanwhile at the base, La Brava questions, "You still so gloomy about how this is gonna go, Mr. Cop?" As Tsukauchi looks at the screen stunned, he thinks, "After all that I've witnessed from him, I should know the measure of the man who keeps us safe and whole." Meanwhile at the battlefield, All Might calls out, "The suit and the car are here to keep me in this fight, if only for a bit. I came up with the specs and put in the design request." And because we already had that splash page that had like all the movie specific characters in it, we see somewhere in the world, Melissa Shield is watching. So she built it. That's awesome. As All Might says, "Back then, when you brought us to our knees, I had no choice but to take refuge over in the state." Oh, that's why he was missing for a hot minute. Oh, no, that he's talking about after Nana fell. He says, "I made a friend there, and these are the fruits of that bond." Yeah, because he had to run away to the States and met with David Shield. Nice. "All that I've been blessed with will bear its weight against you." All Might's words before when he fought against All for One. "I'll use this very hand to shape my own fate." And All Might calls out to All for One, "We've known each other long enough that you should realize something, my dear friend." And he uses shoot style. Dude. That's actually kinda awesome. And All Might calls out, "Not once in my entire life have I gone into battle expecting to lose." It's funny. I remember long ago, people kept saying that, Deku being given a quirk is kind of wrong because it's just like, I mean, we wanted to see Deku overcome despite his inability. And here you have All Might going in with a suit that he designed that was brought to reality because of his friends who he had known and gotten to know at the start of his superhero career. I mean, there have been series that have made their movies somewhat canon. The only other one I can really think of is Fairy Tail, but My Hero is the only one I know of that made all of its movies canon, and even made one of its movies that really had a really close tie-in, because All Might in America, that was a thing, And this is being brought to the forefront to the degree that it's just like, no, the movie is very important. If you have not seen this movie, you have no idea who this girl with glasses who is watching this fight is, or why she's relevant. The friend that All Might is talking about, I don't know, it's kind of hype to me. It's kind of hype to me. Because I know that some people look down on the movies, especially because some of the resources, time, and effort that went into the movies they feel should have gone into the anime series in some situations, which I somewhat agree with. But the fact that the movies are being made very canon, like something from that actually has more relevant, which I will say, the first two movies, they felt like, okay, no, they're definitely very canon. And the third movie, I understand it, but at the same time, I'm like, I mean, there were several elements in the third movie that were a big thing, but the first one had Melissa and David and, All Might's relationship with them. That's very important. That always felt very important to me. The second movie having Nine, who is the precursor to what happens to Tomura Shigaraki, that is also important because he's the prototype for what happens to Tomura Shigaraki, which I thought was very cool in a lot of ways. But third was the first time the most connective tissue were certain elements that would be used around the world, like Trigger and stuff like that, and we got to see some of the worldwide heroes here and there, which I'll admit, had it featured Stars and Stripes, oh man, the movie would have been like, yes, that's amazing. But without that, it's just kind of like, whatever. And now I know there's a fourth movie coming out too, which who knows what that's gonna be about. And the best thing here is that for All For One, he's reverting in age and to a certain degree mentality, because his rationale thinking is taken over by his impulsiveness. And we knew that going in. Even he recognized that he was becoming more impulsive because of his younger nature, which was more likely to get him killed or have him make a mistake. But for All Might, though he no longer has his power, he has not just the support from Melissa, who, good on her for finally being able to step up in place of her dad, who always sought to support All Might in every way, shape, or form, and to come through for him when he was losing his powers. That was a big thing in the movie too. God, it validates so much in that first movie. I can't handle it. But to also have it that All Might had been also observing his student and to be using things and ideas that he got from his student, using Black Whip, using Chargeable, Cellophane, Sugar Man, and the shoot style, just that. Man, that is just wild to me. And it's not even like I'm overly hyped, despite what it may seem like. It's just like, yeah, this makes so much sense. It's just like everything along the way feels like it's been accumulating to this. And it's not like we're saying, oh, All Might's gonna win this. No. He doesn't have to win, he just has to stall. And though All Might says he hasn't gone into this battle expecting to lose, I mean, hey, that's just the mindset he needs to do the damn best he can. This was wonderful. This was wonderful. I love this. I'm sorry, I love this. I love this. This was great. Thank you thank you, Horikoshi, for this chapter. And if nothing else, just getting to see All Might just do his thing one more time. Ah, so badass. Well, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think of this Armored Might? Do you want to see him actually take down All for One? Do you think All Might actually might die in this battle? Could it be mutual destruction? Honestly, I think that'd be pretty damn badass. They both go out in this last final battle. I also remember people saying All Might should have died long ago. It's like, now, this feels like what we've been leading up to, and it is awesome. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din. Thanks for watching and hope to see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.